What did you think about Keir Starmer taking down Margaret Thatcher's picture from number 10?
Well, I think it just shows his insecurity. He's insecure. He should he should respect the fact that those portraits are there of every. Now, I can't stand Keir Starmer, but the people of Great Britain that bothered to voted him as our Prime Minister. His portrait will now go in number 10, and when he leaves, I believe that portrait should stay there. The people voted for him. And that is democracy. Just because I don't like Keir Starmer doesn't mean to say that I would remove his portrait from Downing Street. I would leave it there as a mark of respect for our democracy, not necessarily him as an individual. But this is British democracy. From Margaret Thatcher, and I know there are plenty of people out there that hated Maggie Thatcher. There will be even more people, I believe, who will hate Keir Starmer. But that is our history. That is the way things are done.
I've noticed that Winston Churchill was now resurfaced. The left have resurfaced him on Twitter and they're giving him a damn good roasting.
Well, they will do because they hate themselves. We were brought up with an identity. I certainly was. I was brought up with an identity. And it's all right for everyone else, it seems, to be proud of their identity and to celebrate their culture and their way of life. And we need to understand that they need to do that. And we do. But as soon as it comes to us wanting to celebrate our culture or our way of life or our history and traditions, all of a sudden that becomes racism. And I don't get it because most of the people of colour that I meet don't get it either. They totally understand that we have our own culture and our own history and our own background. And many of them actually love it. And they say, yeah, you should celebrate it the same as we celebrate ours.
Anybody that's proud of their roots and culture and country, they're being shamed and lambasted for it. They're knocking the pride out of you. They're knocking the love out of you that you got the country. So the Union Jack, for example, is now a symbol of racism to a lot of people. You get people that go on these morning chat shows on St George's Day. British people slamming St George's Day. What have you got to celebrate? All the carnage that Great Britain have caused years beyond. It's like what? So we have to live feeling guilty of our past.
Well, they always ignore the good bits as well, because for every bad bit of the British Empire, there's a good bit as well. So much so that, there's a thing called the Commonwealth where countries have wanted to stay with the United Kingdom because we gave them so much in many respects. There were good and bad things about the empire. None of us were here. It's nothing to do with us.
No, totally.
We don't blame the German people of today for the 1930s and the 1940s, which is much more recent in our history than the British Empire.
And that's a great example.
Much more.
I love the German people.
Yeah, great people. I found the Germans to be fantastic. Too good at football, unfortunately, but, we won't go down that route. But, yeah, I've got the German people have been brilliant, and I've been to Germany dozens of times. I've never been to Germany once with any bad feeling in my heart for the German people because of what happened in the 1930s and the 1940s. But this is the really important thing, Liam, is that the Nazis and the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s represented a small proportion of the German nation. It wasn't the peaceful majority that were relevant. They were irrelevant. It was the violent minority that were relevant and that were dangerous. And this is what we face now in the UK. The vast majority of people that live here are peaceful and peace-loving. The vast majority. There's 67 million people in this country. Let's say that 66 million of them can all get on together. That's not really relevant. It's the 1 million that can't get on that represent the danger.
So let's go back to your political commentating, because I obviously know a few people that do the same thing. And I know that when you start commentating on political issues, for the people watching and listening, it ends there. They go back to their life, sit with a family, have a glass of wine, put a film on. Now, the person that's commentating on current affairs, they get backlash from people that disagree with them, and it tends to have, now you tell me, I'm just guessing at the moment, but I can imagine that behind the scenes, things are going on within your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, there are a lot of things that go on in the background, and they're not always good. You know, you become a target, you get threats, I walk around in the street now looking over my shoulder pretty much all the time. Is that paranoia? Possibly, because, you know, I was in the luxury watch business for years. I was looking over my shoulder anyway, you know, so it's nothing new to me. Having all the security at my home is nothing new to me. You know that I've lived like that for years anyway. So the paranoia or the wariness, if you like, has carried on from my previous industry into this one. It's a natural progression for me in many respects. But look, you do become a target. Your life is never finished in the respect that, or your job is never done. You release a video, people might comment on it, they might leave a comment, they watch it, they walk away from it, they're done. But you're not. Every video can have a consequence or bring a reaction that you might not like. Some people, you can say something and some people will take it one way, other people will take it in another. That will lead to completely different reactions. So it's not always fun. Hassle from the family. When I say hassle, I mean immense pressure from your wife, your children, your grandchildren, whoever, to walk away and leave it behind. Why are you doing this? What is it doing to us as a family? The repercussions are dramatic and often endless, leading to assaults on your family, leading to people trying to find out where you live. Many, many things, Liam. So it's not as simple as a lot of people might think that it is, and it's certainly not as easy as people might think that it is. You know, they say, oh, you know, you get fame and adulation and you get paid. Well, that's the good news, right? But I don't actually consider fame to be a good thing. I actually prefer to be unnoticed rather than to be noticed, but it's part of the job.
Especially when 50% of the people that notice you are going to disagree with you.
Exactly, yeah. Thankfully, most people that come up to you are in agreement. They're, I wouldn't say fans, they're viewers, and they like what you do. I don't mind people coming up to me that disagree as long as they're amiable and that we can have a discussion rather than an argument. I don't want to argue in the street. It's not where I want to be. But it comes with a lot of stress. There is a heavy price to pay emotionally, mentally.
How's it affected your head?
I would say it's like a PTSD thing, really. You know, you're always under stress. You're thinking about it 24 hours a day. Even when you go to bed, you're dreaming about it. You're waking up. You're thinking, what's the next move? What do we do next? How do we approach this? How do I try and unite people? Because that's all I'm trying to do, is get people together, get rid of the violence, get rid of the hatred, give people something tangible that they can hold on to and belong to. We all need to belong to something. I believe everyone needs to feel part of something and that they belong somewhere. And right now we have so many people in this country that feel they don't belong here anymore. And that is tragic.
And you're prepared to speak up for those people, irrespective of pressure from family, death threats. Tell me where some of your death threats have come from.
Well, they usually come through email. And unfortunately, the police don't take them very seriously. I don't take them particularly seriously either, if I'm honest. I think if someone is going to come and do something bad to you, they just come and do it. They don't tell you first. But they can be disconcerting, and when they threaten to chop up your grandchildren, I think that's stepping over a line, personally. But the police are not always willing, or they genuinely don't have the resources to follow every threat up. Some, I think, are more tangible, more serious than others. But in general, the threats that come through, I don't tell the family necessarily. They don't even watch my videos these days because they find it too painful. But I don't tell them what people say to me. I don't want to worry them even further than they already are. But is my life in danger? I don't think so, Liam, because I don't consider myself that I've ever said anything that would really want to make people feel that way about me. They might disagree with what I say, but I've never preached any hatred towards anyone. It's always been the opposite.
What's one of the most common things you get accused of being that you're not?
Far right. Far right. I mean, everyone's far right now, aren't they? I mean, you know, anybody slightly right of Trotsky is a member of the far right. It's crazy.
So what's your definition of the far right?
My definition of the far right are people that hate other people just because of the colour of their skin or their religion or because they're different to what they are. They also want to shut those people up. They hate the Jewish community in particular. They hate the Islamic community in particular, which is kind of ironic because they just hate everyone that's not the same as them. That's the real far right.
And to be a far right thoroughbred, shall we say, have you just got to think those things or have you got to act upon those thoughts?
I guess there's no harm. Everyone can have the thoughts, can't they? You're free to think what you like, I guess. I don't know. I think you're free to think whatever you want.
It's an interesting question and concept.
It's a mad question, yeah.
It's only because when I see people getting sent to jail for writing a Facebook post, for me that's somebody putting their thoughts
on paper
onto a platform. So at what stage do the government start intercepting your private conversations and your private WhatsApp messages, and then they will decide if you're far right or you're not, and then they'll act upon private stuff that you're not really announcing to the world, you're not taking action, you're not protesting, you're just talking to somebody in private about how you feel.
Well, I think any incitement is up for inspection. I mean, I think let's forget far right, far left. Let's just talk about crime. If you incite someone to commit a crime, then I think that should be answerable to the law. So if I try and talk someone into committing a crime, that is a crime for me. And it doesn't really matter what crime we're talking about. It could be a bank robbery, it could be a street robbery or a mugging, or if you conspire or if you incite people to commit crime, for me, that's a crime. If you have a chat between two friends in a room like we are now, that's a chat. But there's a fine line. Where does a chat become conspiracy?